The Zurgo Stormrender Precon has now been released, so there's only one thing to do. Let's do this. Zurgo Stormrender is a red, white, and a black for a 3/3 legendary creature Orc Warrior. It has Mobilized 1. Whenever this creature attacks, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Whenever a creature token you control leaves the battlefield, draw a card if it was attacking, otherwise each opponent loses 1 life. This is a fantastic, aggressive Mardu commander that allows us to attack our opponents to get their life totals low, and then when we no longer need those tokens that we create that are extra, we can sacrifice them and either gain card advantage or hurt our opponents even more. This sounds like fun. Out of the box, we are getting 31 creatures, 6 sorceries, 7 instants, 11 artifacts, 6 enchantments, and 37 lands. There is also a cheeky 1 planeswalker. Now, this deck seems pretty solid already. I do like the fact we have plenty of artifact ramp in these colours. Because we are in Mardu, ramping is a lot harder unless we devote a lot of our deck to white's catch-up ramp type thing or black's ritual style effects. So it's nice to see that we've got 2 of the talismans in here, this arcane signet, the Felwar Stone. You know, we've got the Wayfarer's Bauble to help us fix our colours as well, especially because our commander is 3 mana and we want to try and get him down on the battlefield as soon as possible. It's lovely, lovely Skull Clamp in here as a sacrifice outlet, as long as well with Visceral Fear. Remember, Zurgo cares about creatures dying. Yeah, so it doesn't. If they die in combat, we're going to draw cards. So remember, cards are still considered attacking after combat damage is dealt before your second main phase. So you can declare your attackers, go through all the block steps, deal all your damage, and then before your second main phase, you can then sacrifice creatures to something like a Visceral Seer. You can't have to do the Skull Clamp because it's sorcery speed, but you can sacrifice them to Visceral Seer, to scry, to set up your next draw, and all of a sudden start scrying, drawing cards, while still in the end of combat step before you go to your second main phase. Yeah, this is a really strong effect, which is really nice if you understand about the priority and the phase shifts of the game. So utilize this with this deck. Also remember that if you want to utilize that and you want to get the card draw, that is when to do it. If you don't want the card draw and you want to drain your opponents, make sure you're doing the sacrificing of the creatures in your main phases. Yeah, cool. Glad you got that. Other things that we have in this deck is plenty of ways to make tokens. I'm quite impressed by this. There's lots of different ways. We've got some sorcery speed stuff. I think there's some instant speed stuff as well to create tokens, which is very nice. So you can do things on end steps. And yeah, we've got Mere Battlesphere. There's some reanimation with Sun Titan. There is a lot of like high-costed white cards with a lot of double pips, which I'm not a big fan of because it leans us heavily into white. And if we do want to go down this aristocrat strategy of dealing direct damage to our opponent's life totals or sacrificing creatures during combat to draw cards, you know, those double pips do restrict us a little bit. So that's probably where I'm going to look to cut cards from. But yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do with this deck. I'm going to really go in on the token heavy side of things. I quite like the alternate commander, Neriv. When it enters, you create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. When it attacks, exile the number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of different named tokens you control. During each of your turns you attacked with a commander, you may play those cards. Yeah, so as long as a commander attacked on those turns, you can play those cards, which is really nice. Yeah, because this is a aggressive deck and we want to be attacking with our commander to get those tokens out. So yeah, and there's lots of ways to make different types of tokens in this deck. We've got dogs, we've got warriors, we've got red warriors, you know, there's spirit, there's soldiers, there's lots and lots of different things. I mean, we've got Thalise in this deck as well. Thalise, did Thalise have her own commander deck or was she just part of the set when the commander decks came out? I can't remember. Let me know. But yeah, lots of different ways to make lots of different types of tokens. So I quite like Neriv being in there. You could build it a lot stronger as its own commander, but hey ho, we're keeping him in the 99 in this one. And yeah, we're just going to go big on lots and lots of tokens, sacrificing those tokens for utility and to deal direct damage to our opponents. So yeah, let's break this deck down into sections and list some cards to cut. So now we've split this deck down into sections, you can really see what makes this deck thing, and it's all of these token creations. Yeah. So we've got 27 cards in this deck that care about either making tokens or doing something with tokens, and they are all listed here. Absolutely fantastic things. Yeah, we've got 3 sacrifice outlets in the deck already. One of them is repeatable removal because we can sacrifice a creature, target creature gets -2/-2, so we can sacrifice 3 little 1/1s and all of a sudden kill a 6/6. Absolutely lovely. Loads of good removal spells that are on theme for the deck. We do have 7 lords, and I'm going to be sacrificing a lot of these creatures to give us more utility, card draw, deal direct damage to our opponent's life total. So I don't really care how big our tokens are, so I'm probably going to cut some of these cards, which you'll see in all the cards I'm cutting here. We have a few cards for protection, which is really nice. Selfless Spirit, Grand Crescendo. We also have Lightning Greaves as well to protect our commander because we don't want him dying. Lots of good ramp. Talisman, Signet, Wayfarer's Bauble, Sol Ring, all the good stuff. We've got Solomon here. Goldlust Triad. There's a new dragon, which is absolutely fantastic. Makes another type of token for us, which is treasures, which then obviously Nereva will trigger off of. We've got one direct damage spell besides obviously the commander with Bastion of Remembrance, which is really very nice. And we've got 8 pieces of card advantage. Yeah, Skull Clamp, Grenzo, Idol of Oblivion, which is a fantastic card. We've got Tokasai's Welcome. So it's just fantastic. So anyway, the bit that you're here for, all the cards that I'm going to cut. Tempt with Vengeance, Grenzo, Havoc Razor, Mind Blade Render, Adeline, Aaron, got Kaya, Commander's Insight, Imaria Angel, Gold Knight Commander, Hero of Bladehold, Augur Battle Driver, Within Range, Angel of Invention, Divine Visitation, Eliminate the Competition, Siege Gang Commander, Sun Titan, and Mere Battlesphere. These are all great cards, but like I say, always we can get some more synergistic stuff for our deck to really make this deck sing. Right, let's add some stuff in. As you can see from the stats here, like I mentioned, this is a pretty solid deck. Mana curve's nice. It teeters off slowly towards the 6, 7, and 8 drops, but you know, there's not too many of them, so it doesn't hold us back too much. We've got the average mana value of the deck at 3.21, which is nice. And yeah, 43% of our deck is white, 30% is black, 21% is red. We've got 19% of it, which is colourless. And that's all covered by 51% white, 49% black, and 43% red, and 14% colourless. Obviously, colourless is absolutely fine, don't worry about it. So yeah, we are heavier in the white, and I think that's down to all those double white pips we've got in the deck. So yeah, as we change things around and I add in some more aristocrat-style cards, I think we're going to be heavier in the black. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So we might have to swap a few basics just to balance things out a little nicer. But yeah, solid deck, really well built. Let's upgrade it anyway. So here we go, we have upgraded the deck. As you can see, we now have 12 pieces of card advantage to allow us to churn through our deck and find our key pieces a lot better. We have 7 ways of dealing direct damage. Obviously, remember, we've always got access to at least one of these with our commander in the command zone. We've now got 12 pieces of ramp. We still have the 3 pieces of protection, same with removal, but we have a lot more sacrifice effects now. And we also have only 21 token generators rather than the 27 I think we had before, or whatever it was. But yeah, all the cards we've added. Are you ready? Carrion Feeder, Corrupted Conviction, Village Rites, Cruel Celebrant, Elas Il-Kor, Sadistic Pilgrim, Eviscera's Insight, Priest of Forgotten Gods, Spawning Pit, Talisman of Indulgence, Zulaport Cutthroat, Ashnod's Altar. You could also do Phyrexian Altar here if you wanted to get the coloured mana. Braids of Arisen Nightmare, Mayhem Devil, Valakut Awakening, Butcher of the Horde, which I think is just fantastic for this deck as it's combat and also sacrifice themed. We've got Keeper of the Accord, Sir Conrad the Grim, obviously, and Dreadhound, obviously. That gives us a lot more direct damage for when we sacrifice things. Yeah, it gives us a lot more card draw to get through to these pieces that we need to create our tokens, to sacrifice our tokens, to make sure we hit all 3 colours by turn 3. You know, this is what we want to do. It just helps make this deck a lot more consistent. And yeah, I just think this is a really, really solid deck. I really like it. You know, I think it's one of those decks that's not really exactly flashy or big and over the top, but it's going to get the job done, which is what I like. We just quickly jump down to the stats now. As you can see, we are definitely a lot heavier into the black colour now. So we've got 33% of the deck is white, 43% black, 19 red, 22% colourless. Yeah, that's covered by 50, 53, and 39. I did end up swapping, I think it was 2 of the mountains for 2 swamps, and that was it. The average deck mana value now is 2.84. And yeah, we've still got this nice, lovely curve. It's just redistributed. We've just redistributed the balance of it a little bit more, reduced the amount of 5 and 4 drops, so it smooths out a lot nicer, so we don't end up with as much endgame stuff in our hands during the first 3 or 4 turns. So just a few cards to go over in the considering section. We've got some ramp with our Phyrexian Tower and our Culling of the Weak. Sacrifice a creature, basically make some mana. We've got Diabolic Intent to sacrifice a creature and then go fetch our winning condition to our hand. So go fetch your Sir Conrad or something like that, or your piece of removal, whatever you need to be able to deal with your opponents. More direct damage with Goblin Bombardment and Meat Hunt Massacre. Obviously, Meat Hunt Massacre, whenever a creature you control dies, our opponents lose life. But whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, we're going to gain life. So their stuff dies, we get stronger. Lovely jubbly. Caretaker's Talent. If you was running this, I would just leave this on level 1 at all times, because whenever a token enters, you're going to draw a card, so it's just an extra bit of card draw. If you level it up to 2, you make a copy of something. If you level it up to 3, your tokens get bigger. So if you want the Lord effect and want big tokens, you could run that one, but yeah, not for me. Muster the Departed. When it enters, you make a token, so it's a spirit creature with flying, and then it has morbid. At the beginning of your end step, if your creature died this turn, populate. Obviously, a lot of creature tokens are going to die when we're playing this deck, so this basically gives us a populated token on our end step that's ready for the next turn for us to sacrifice to then feed into this again, and boom, 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 we've always got a token. Anointed Procession and Mondrak are here as well because we're making tokens, so let's just make twice as many tokens. And yeah, Cryptghast is just more and more mana because, you know, we're heavier in black now, so it's just another way of ramping out, and, you know, if anybody targets it, we just sacrifice it anyway, get more value that way. So yeah, there's loads of things you can do with this, but especially because we're token themed, and yeah, that's just a few of the extras I thought that you could add in. If you've got any other suggestions, then let me know in the comments below. So there we have it. That is Zurgo Stormrender, the Mardu Surge Precon. And yeah, it is just an absolute solid deck. Like, I feel like I just mentioned, it's not a big splashy deck that's going to go over the top and do anything crazy or bizarre. It's literally just going to attack, and then if those attacks aren't favourable, we're just going to sacrifice the creatures before they die. Yeah, and then once they've died, yeah, we're going to draw more cards, and our things like our Cruel Celebrant, our Elas, our Zulaport will also trigger to drain our opponents. Just remember with stuff like your Myriad triggers, the Myriads exile themselves at the end of combat, which is fine for Zurgo, but not fine for things like Cruel Celebrant and Elas and Zulaport Cutthroat, because they KO when a creature dies, so you will have to sacrifice them before they exile themselves to get the most benefit from them. And yeah, that's it. Just make tokens, attack your opponents, and then sacrifice them and hurt them even more. So it's a great, great deck. Nice and simple, nice and straightforward. I like it. I think it's... this is the thing that I find interesting about this deck is I don't think it's going to be that popular because it's not got some crazy reprint value or some crazy shenanigans going up in it, but it's a solid deck that gets the job done, like I keep saying. So I think personally this is going to be a solid pickup for somebody new getting into Commander. Anyway, if you want to see more Precon upgrade videos, they're all up there. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate the support, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye for now.